Welcome back. Now, Libya's government says a woman who accused Gaddafi troops of raping her is now at home with her family. Yeah, but Eman Al Obaidi's mother says she hasn't seen her daughter, you can see her here, since Sunday, suggesting she's still actually being held by the Gaddafi regime. Now, in London today, an opposition spokesman said Al Obaidi was telling the truth about her ordeal.
Well, we think it's a genuine case of kidnapping and raping. We think that this is just the tip of the iceberg of the sort of things that the security services and security people carry out in Libya. It's one way of terrorizing the population, of using it as blackmail and kidnapping, and we think that the perpetrator in that particular case is somebody who's high profile and very close to Gaddafi himself, in fact, a cousin of Gaddafi.
Now, government officials claimed Al Obaidi was insane. Then they said she was a prostitute after she went into that hotel on Saturday. Now they're saying, well, she is sane, and they're actually pursuing a criminal case. Now, CNN cameraman Khalil Abdallah, he was there. He was in the hotel when Miss Al Obaidi went screaming in there and that whole scene unfolded. He's got a pretty incredible story to tell, and here it is. Khalil, just outline for us how this began. You were where, doing what? What happened?
Well, I was at breakfast, and the second I put my plate on the table, all of a sudden a lady walks right into the entrance of the restaurant and starts screaming in Arabic, yelling and screaming and showing bruises on her arms, showing bruises on her thigh. And all the journalists there were just trying to grasp what's going on. And I obviously speak Arabic, so I slowly tried to understand what she's saying as journalists gathered around me for me to tell them what she's saying. And she was saying basically that she was arrested by the Gaddafi brigades and that they abused her and raped her for 2 days. And the second that clicked into my mind that I actually translated this to the other journalists, I just ran up to my room to grab the camera, me and a couple of other photojournalists who were there.
Yeah. And now we got to give people a sense of how that drama unfolded. And it was dramatic. We're going to roll some videotape and have a look at how this unfolded. Let's roll that, Matt.
Nothing about people.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, clearly a very emotional scene unfolding there. Now, I also, Nick, I'll come to you in a sec, but I've got to point this out. That they were pictures from the Reuters news agency. Khalil, you had a camera. What happened? Why are they not CNN pictures? There's a story in that as well.
Well, I was one of the first people to show up there with a camera and started rolling, and as the drama unfolded, and all of a sudden a government minder who previously we've seen him blocking a stand-up that Nick and I were shooting, and he was dressed in a full press fatigue, you know, and he traveled with us on the press bus and went with us to multiple locations, and all of a sudden I see him pointing right at me and just singling me out, and he's coming towards me, jumping over a table. So I'm backing up slowly, but he made it to me quick. He pushed a couple of cameras. They were pushing journalists. They were beating some journalists, and he made it to me. He broke the viewfinder of the camera, ripped the microphone. All of a sudden, it was a confrontation between me and him. I'm pulling, and he's pulling. Then his nails went right into my arm, and during that moment, I looked right behind him, and there was a guy in civilian clothes holding a 9mm gun. So I let go of the camera and slowly started to back away from the situation.
Yeah, and he then went.
Obviously, they confiscated our tapes, our material.
Yeah, and broke the camera as well. Nick, you made an interesting point at the time, and that was that this was almost a breaking of the facade of control, wasn't it, by the machine there, if you like. It must have been a surreal scene.
I didn't witness it directly. I've seen it so many times on videotape since. I was upstairs in my room when everything unfolded, and Khalil was in the middle of it downstairs. But it showed that here was one person who wanted to come in and voice an alternate opinion to the opinion that the government's been so carefully trying to stage manage around us, this sort of support for Gaddafi. It was somebody who wanted to be very brave and speak up against him, who'd also had unspeakable things done to her. And we witnessed here what the government does when people try and speak out against the regime.
Khalil, go back to the incident itself. You were targeted, but a lot of journalists were. And you can see in the video, one Western journalist obviously tries to help the woman. He's shoved out of the way. Another one I saw get kicked. I mean, this was a full-on assault on the international media, wasn't it?
Without a doubt, and even some journalists who tried to pull their cards out of their cameras or hide cassettes or hide smaller cameras, they were chased down the hallway of the hotel, and it sure looked like a rugby match. I mean, they're just a bunch of people on top of each other trying to sneak cards or hide video material as the government minders were kicking them. And it was very shocking because we all knew who these people are. We all knew how to deal with them. But when you start seeing the employees of the restaurant get involved, trying to cover her head with a bag or holding a knife, these are the things that resonate in your memory a lot more, because these are the people that you think were outside of this whole circle that we're living in here in Tripoli. And
you've seen this guy who took your camera and basically broke it into pieces. You still bump into this guy, right?
Yeah, this guy is still actively wandering around our hotel, whether it's at 1 a.m. in the morning or at breakfast this morning. He is still here. The government knows about him. They just seem to just let it be. And he's part of the group that sometimes you think they're government minders, sometimes you think they're secret police, sometimes they keep calling themselves civilians. We know no civilian can just wander into this hotel. That we know.
You know, by the way, Eman Al Obaidi's parents tell CNN they are not afraid anymore to condemn the Gaddafi regime. Her mother says she would now slap Gaddafi if she ever got to meet him. Oh, and by the way, the men accused of raping Al Obaidi, well, they've now laid charges of slander